Hello, everyone. It's awesome to be here, and I'm excited to share a little bit about Open Web. So my talk is Enabling Open Web for Consumer Apps. My name is Illia. I'm co-founder at Near Protocol, and let's dive in. So before kind of going into the depths, let's discuss the web in general, right? So we have seen kind of an evolution of the web over past kind of 40 years. And it started really when the internet was just starting. It was just networks. And these networks needed protocols, right? The ways how these computers will be talking to each other. And so pre-web, actually, before we have kind of the World Wide Web, there was a number of protocols where people were exchanging information, communicating, and doing all kinds of stuff. And I think only a few of them survived, and email is probably the kind of the most used right now. Then about 89, in CERN, there was kind of birth of the web as we know it, kind of the ability to share information via web pages. And that was a protocol that was invented that allowed people to really start using kind of internet as in many ways as we know right now. But it was usually just for content sharing, right? It was kind of to create directories and create pages. And only about in 98, 97, when things started to become interactive, right? When JavaScript became kind of available in the browsers and kind of backends started to become more active, we saw kind of a spur of things that are really became a way for people not just read information, but actually interact with these web pages, put in more information there, and be able to kind of use search, use like kind of it started to build up into all the social networks and stuff like this. But this had actually a reverse problem, which did not happen before with early web and kind of protocols before, is that things started to become more closed, right? Because we now interacting with a single server. This server wants to capture this data, wants to kind of control it, wants to use it to build its business. And so we actually started to lose a lot of the openness that was really encoded in the beginning when internet was just starting. And with that, right, we had a lot of kind of data leaks and this data becoming a product where we know the companies that are pretty much are monopolists of the user's data, and they either trading it or they're losing it accidentally, and this leads to kind of less and less healthy state of the internet. And so Open Web really is a kind of a set of open protocols to combat this problem while still delivering the same or even better experience. And kind of the interesting thing is almost in parallel, the kind of the whole, money, like as a, and Bitcoin is pretty much the driver of this, kind of how do we build money that's not requiring a centralized party to exchange? How do we build a financial system that is independent of any single party and only the users control it, right? And so with that, we had Bitcoin, and pretty fast people realized that they can actually do more with Bitcoin than just send money to each other. This, Bitcoin script was kind of a first approach to smart contracts, but obviously only until Ethereum, and actually only until last few years, we saw a huge spur of this financial kind of operators and financial applications that are able to really create a rich, open financial system where anybody can interact with it. It's not controlled by any single party, and there's a lot of composability and kind of economic activity that's happening. And so these two patterns, right, the kind of this open, like need for openness and decentralization, because like a lot of things are becoming centralized and kind of controlled, and these technologies that are pretty much making things like possible to do in this way, right? This is where we are right now. We are at this kind of combination moment where it's possible now to start building a lot of open web and a lot of this consumer level applications. And to be clear, like people have been trying to build open protocols for a long time, right? And most times they could not compete with applications that have been built in a commercial way and kind of generating profit. And so this is where kind of having this financial ecosystem allows us to do interesting things. So what is Open Web, right? Open Web is actually just a set of philosophies, and decentralization is obviously at the core of it. the hackability and composability is really important, right? Is this ability that you should be able to always build on top of each other, right? Because in normal web, it started like that and people were trying to build it like that. But over time, because of the kind of internal incentives for any company, they really want to build everything internally and kind of close the gap. And so, for example, I worked at Google before, and actually inside in Google, it is actually like this. Literally every single component is available for everyone. You can combine them, you can compose them, you can hack on everybody's code. But this is internal to Google, right? You need to pass an interview, you need to work for this company, and you kind of need to be aligned with whatever the policy there is. And so actually bringing this mentality, right, but actually making it permissionless and open for everyone to participate and, for any ideas to come in and kind of participate in one world, this is what open web is. And obviously it's about user, right? Like how Bitcoin started saying like, this is your money, your key is your money, right? We want this pretty much to spread across, your key is your social data, right? Your key is your medical data. All those things should be kind of belong to users and be sovereign to them. And at the end, it's about markets, right? Because without economy, without kind of creating proper markets, you cannot compete with something that's like way more funded, way more active, right? So you need economic layers that actually will enable these things. So this is super unclear, and I'm just showing this as an idea. Like this is kind of my chart of open web. This is not even full, but there's this red box which is a blockchain. And so this is just a speck in the whole, universe of things that needs to be built. And there's DeFi, there's, a lot of things. I'll just cover some of them. But to be clear, we already have the primitives to build the open web, right? They are here already, they work, right? We have ownership, kind of it's programmable, it's on chain. We have identity, we have encryption and ways to kind of reshare data that is encrypted, decentralized storage, obviously oracles, there's Chainlink and a few others. We have zero knowledge proofs that are purely magic, but able to prove things that that happened without actually redoing the computation. And we have DAOs, which are a new way of actually organizing people around the world in ways that you couldn't imagine before, where you kind of were only restricted to a specific company structure in a specific country. So this is all available now, and it's available because we actually have the infrastructure now to do this, right? And so this is just zooming in into a specific piece, right? There's a lot of infrastructure that's built around, right? So blockchain, scalable blockchains is one, right? We have a lot of indexing, querying, kind of the graph, covalent, and others. We have, now scalable storage chains, Filecoin, SAI, etc. We have economically secured oracles like Chainlink. We have gateways and exchanges. All this together, right, give us these pieces that now we can combine into really interesting open web applications. So what's next, right? What's missing? Why is it not on my phone right now? Well, actually, we're missing a lot of kind of common protocols that then applications will be built on, right? And so this is actually zooming in another part of the graph is a set of protocols that actually connect people to social graph, communication. There's like music, video, reputation. Conflict resolution is super interesting. This is where actually using Chainlink, for example, as a building block is really important. And being able to resolve conflicts would actually enable a lot of other things like gig protocol, right? Ability to grab jobs in real world and ability to have, pretty much court resolution type of thing when there's a conflict arises. So like if you're a hacker, if you're a developer and you look into it, this is just kind of next frontier of things to do. And if you're interested in building this, I would love to support you and would love to work with you. So like, this was kind of from technology side, but what about the market side? What about the user side, right? Well, actually, users want this because what this gives you is the ability to have all your data belong to you. And as you move around, as you go to different applications, the data is with you, right? Like imagine you could, you join a new social network and actually all your social network is already with you. So this application just allows you to use more functionality. Right, same as somebody built a new really cool way of kind of watching through videos or photos. Well, actually, your feed and your friends and everything is already there, and you can just go there and start using it and start enjoying whatever the features and kind of value add that this application is offering. And so you don't need to rebuild it. And so this both allows to kind of for users to actually not have a lock-in in the application side and actually drive like the best product out of them, and at the same time, have this privacy and ownership of the applications. The creators is especially interested in this, and we know this already, right? They love NFTs, they love kind of ability to program ownership, but especially because they now are closer to their fans, they're closer to their community as well. And so through that, they're able to communicate with them in, through NFTs in a kind of visual, digital way, but also then connecting them in through social, et cetera, right? And so again, having a social graph, having the communication protocols that allow now creator to connect with people who've got their NFTs, for example, in different ways, and maybe inviting them to an event, that would pretty much enable them even better to, and through that, become better creator and become more popular as well. And of course, developers, right? For developers, now you have this kind of almost a universe of things that you can build upon, and you can rely that they're going to be there, right? And this is not true. Like if you've tried to build a startup before, like when you're making decision to use some external application, you need to always judge like how realistic that application will actually survive and not fail you. And like if that's a startup on the other side, you're pretty much risking it, right? But we're in open web. It doesn't matter because we have guarantees, right? We have guarantees around application, we have guarantees around kind of infrastructure, and it doesn't matter that some of those things are actually built by a few people, right? Like we have billion-dollar company like projects now that are maintained by a few people, and they function, and people build on top of them, right? Which is like unprecedented in a normal world, right? Nobody would build a bank on top of a exchange which is maintained by two people. So what this gives us is this infinite composability, right? So I didn't list like, all the applications, and, even my graph doesn't actually have a lot of applications, because actually with these protocols, you will be able to build almost any kind of interesting application that you want, right? And I just listed like few kind of interesting examples, like Uber for coworkers, right? Now that you have social graph and you have gig protocol, you can actually combine it into creating an Uber for coworkers. Or you can have, combine reputation and, only allow people to write you in a social network if they have enough reputation. So there's lots and lots of kind of ways to combine these kind of core protocols when people are already using them. So just to give you a example of this already working, right? So this is an app on Near that is pretty much doing a crowdsourcing. So it's similar to Amazon Mechanical Turk, and it's actually have 1,500 daily actives, over 2,000 people total, and it's already collected 1 million data samples from April. And for comparison, at Google, different task, but I was doing similar collection, and it took us like 3 years to do something like this. And this is pretty much also, it kind of engages people around the world, right? This is like we're using the cradle of the blockchain, right, to engage people around the world. And we actually have people literally surviving during COVID by working on this platform, because there's no other job in where they are, or leaving jobs that they hate. So we're already making difference. We actually creating better product, and through economic incentives, through openness, and through this economy, there's a really kind of compelling cases that are already better, like, or comparable to the Web 2. So I don't know if people know about Near. I'll just be super quick. So we are actually focused on building this kind of infrastructure, right? And so we started obviously with a blockchain. I'm excited to help and kind of build all the other protocols. I mean, obviously we're not doing this ourselves, but we're partnering with everyone, and we're enabling them through pretty much making it easy to build things, making it scalable on the back end, making it easy for new users, right, for non-crypto users like the ones working on their crowd to actually onboard and really quickly use the applications. And of course, it's all about community. So really enable community of developers and creators to build these pieces and kind of create their communities as well. So if you're interested, reach out to us. Also, just to mention, we actually have a protocol agnostic accelerator called Open Web Collective. And so if you're building a project and interested in getting help to get it to the next level, you can apply now at openwebcollective.com. There's been already like projects like 1inch, NIM, and Paras, and a few others who went through this and been pretty successful. So keep learning. I mean, if you haven't seen, we have a lot of educational videos, protocols, application level, everything. our YouTube and blog. This is pretty much it. Thanks. And yeah, if we have any few more minutes, I would love to answer your questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Illia, for that fantastic overview of what's to come in enabling the open web.